Okay, so today we're diving into a story that's got everything: internal government conflict, super advanced tech, and, of course, national security. It's all about what's being called the NSA's AI paradox. And really, it all comes down to this one question, and it's a doozy. Can a government actually use a piece of tech that its own military has officially said, nope, we don't trust this? You'd think the answer would be a hard no, right? But as we're about to see, things are, well, they're a lot messier than that.
So here's the absolute core of it. The NSA, right? The National Security Agency. They are actively using an AI tool. The kicker? The company that makes this tool has been formally blacklisted by the Pentagon. And, get this, the NSA is part of the Department of Defense run by the Pentagon. So how on earth is that even possible?
All right, to get our heads around this, we've got to break down what looks like a major contradiction. Let's start with our first section, a government divided.
So check this out. On one hand, you've got the Pentagon putting out a formal supply chain risk designation for this AI company called Anthropic. Now, that's basically a huge red flag, a big do not use sign. But then, on the other hand, the NSA, which, again, is part of the same department, is going right ahead and using Anthropic's AI. It's a classic case of the left hand not knowing, or maybe not caring, what the right hand is doing.
Okay, so who's who in this whole drama? Let's get to know the key players. All right, there are three big names you need to know. First, the NSA. They're the ones using the AI tool. Then you've got the Pentagon, their bosses, who flag the AI's creator as a risk. And finally, there's Anthropic, the AI startup that built the thing. And I'm going to say it again because it's so important. The NSA works for the Department of Defense. That's what makes this whole thing so mind-boggling.
So, what is this piece of tech that's causing such a fuss? Let's talk about the Mythos Super AI.
Okay, Mythos Preview. It's a super advanced AI model from that startup, Anthropic, and it's built to do two things really, really well: handle complex coding and, this is the big one, act on its own, autonomously.
And that is where all the alarm bells start ringing. The big fear is that this thing could supercharge cyber attacks. Why? Well, because it can think and act for itself. They call it performing agentic tasks. It's also a master coder, which means it could, in theory, find security holes and figure out how to exploit them, all without a human telling it what to do.
And look, you don't have to just take my word for it. Anthropic, the company that made it, literally calls it their, quote, most capable yet for coding and agentic tasks. I mean, when the creator says, hey, this is the most powerful thing we've ever built for acting on its own, you gotta pay attention. We're talking about a whole new level of tech here.
But you know, this whole thing isn't just a squabble between two government agencies. We need to zoom out a bit, because this is part of a much bigger debate about AI that's happening right now, both in Washington and in Silicon Valley.
Now, this situation has gone way past some internal emails. We're talking about high-level meetings between Anthropic's CEO and senior officials and the Trump administration, all trying to figure out how these incredibly powerful AI models should be handled. That alone tells you how serious this is. And it's really interesting when you compare Anthropic to its biggest rival, OpenAI. While Anthropic is kind of in this standoff with the Pentagon, OpenAI has already signed on the dotted line, accepting what's called a permissive contract for military use cases. So you see this huge split forming in the AI world over how to work with the military.
Okay, so we've looked at the players, the tech, the politics. But what's the bottom line here? Why should you care about this story? Let's get into why this matters.
All right, let's wrap this up with the key takeaways. First off, this story blows the lid off a major internal conflict in the U.S. defense world about AI policy. It's also a perfect example of that classic struggle, needing the absolute latest, greatest tools to stay safe versus the very real risks those same tools create. It also shines a huge spotlight on how incredibly difficult it is to regulate powerful AI that can be used for good or for bad. And, maybe most importantly, it shows that government agencies are grabbing this new tech so fast that the rules and policies just can't keep up.
And all of that leaves us with one massive question, one that's really going to define our future. As AI just keeps getting more and more powerful, who gets to decide how it's used? Who gets the final say? Especially when, as we've just seen, even different parts of the very same government can't seem to agree.